What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of The Throw Show, Season 3. We're going to start off getting right after it. Jordan Geist has been on fire. I think he's thrown 21-44 so far this year, 45. We're going to check out his 21-27 indoor throw at Texas Tech. His finish there, I feel like he's really rotating well into that left at the front. I also wanted to point out that I feel like, man, he looks good. Quick. I don't know if I remember, at least in recent years, that Geist has had this many, it just looks like this consistent.
Yeah, he looks really good.
He's, like, to me, the perfect example there of that, like, grounded finish.
Yeah.
Just really, really coming through. So he's on fire and looks to be, damn, look at that. Wow. Look at how long he's still on the left. What? Also, great job stopping and pausing the video at that point, Trevor.
Thank you.
What do you think? What do you think about that, about his throw?
I love it. The one thing I was going to point out, actually, is why I stopped here. I mean, it's where his feet are is legit. I thought that finish looked like my finish, where I collapsed on the left side a little bit. I don't know if it's just how he's falling through.
Just 3 meters shorter?
Just 3 meters shorter, more than that. But that was like the only thing I saw in this throw. That just seemed like a little different than normal, is like that left arm a little low.
What do you think?
But I like how his right foot's still on the ground, even though he's doing that, which I think is surprising.
Yeah. What do you think? So Lucas McKay left Penn State. He's at Arizona now. I don't know for sure. I haven't really talked to him about the details here. You know, you get someone like Jordan, who was with Crater for 4 or 5 years now. I want to say this is his 6th year. I could be wrong, but I think it's a COVID year that he's using. What would you do as a coach to sort of possibly tweak some things, or do you come in and you don't really want to screw with it? How would you approach that? Also, knowing Lucas's temperament is, I think, pretty level, but maybe a little controlling. He's a good coach, so it's like, how would you handle that, or how do you think Lucas is handling it? Maybe it's a double whammy question.
Yeah, obviously I can't say what Lucas is doing, but I think I don't think you don't change too much with someone with him. I think you try to communicate with the goals that he's been setting with himself, and that he's been working on previously, and you just try and kind of meet with him, kind of slide along with what he's been doing, and definitely initially provide just additional guidance on top of whatever those things were. And then I think as you build a relationship, as you get closer, you start putting in your own little tidbits here and there. And then, as you get to see more and more of the throw, you get to see if there's potentially a bigger problem, and you can, eventually try to make a bigger fix. Yeah. So I definitely think it's a gradual thing, at least how I would approach it. But, I think there are also coaches, and it could be, depending on the athlete, if they're satisfied with where they are, they could be ready for just a whole complete change, Yeah. And it's like maybe a big change would spark
That's fair.
A little bit of,
like a bigger jump.
Right. Yeah. That, if they've been doing the same thing for, however long, I'm not talking about Jordan, but like, and
some throwers
some change could
drastic,
just like get them over that plateau.
Right. I want people to remember this finish from Jordan Geist, because I think it's going to be, I'm not sure. There's a couple of throwers I wanted to talk about that have a very, very similar finish to this. And I think it's what we've seen changing in the sport in general over the last 5 to 10 years. So I think we should just keep that in mind. So this is going to take us now into, this is the meat. Look, this is the meat. So this is the meat that has the, okay, so it's 21-69. Tomas Stanek. So Jordan Geist does not have the tie. Do you think he saved that throw? Okay, so this is the meat of controversy currently, which I wanted to talk to Frick about what's going on. Great throw. Tomas Stanek, total animal. He's a 22-meter guy. I was confusing him. He's a Polish dude. I was confusing him with the guy from Czech Republic.
Stanek is from
He is the Czech guy. Okay. I'm thinking about Heretic. Yeah, you're right. Okay, so thank you, Jason. This meet has a lot of controversy around it because it's listed as a silver level meet, but it was done in this setting, and that's where a lot of people in the jumps and the sprints world are a little upset currently with World Athletics. So there's sort of like this undertone behind what's going on, but no matter what, 2169, this is a Europeans year for Stanek, so it's going to be interesting to see how, what type of shape everybody's in. I've been sort of looking at Chubby Diamonds, at Nick Ponzio, how he's been training. He's going to be a factor. Eric's over there right now throwing. Some of the Italians, I haven't seen if they threw there, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens in the European era or circuit with having a European indoors and not having a World Championships. It's going to be an interesting situation to compare the Euros versus U.S. indoors, and I always like to play that game, especially when there still is a World Championships this year outdoors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and again on the controversy with the level of the meet, I'd just like to see, is there sort of a what criteria does World Athletics use to determine what meets. I could see if they're trying to provide equal opportunity, that there are a million meets that go on in the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of them are very high level, and it would make sense to me that maybe if there are fewer meets, even if they're in locations like this, in other areas, that they would be like, okay, since it's in this area gets this many silver level meets, the U.S. gets this many silver level meets. And, it equals out just with the opportunity, regardless of what the, kind of status of the meet is.
Right.
But I don't know if that's how they do it or not. That's something that would make sense to me. But
that's the other argument, is a lot of people don't really know outside of possible financial implications of who's paying for the silver.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of conspiracy around how these things are actually being set up. That's not taking anything away from this throw. This throw's a great throw. It's more around the actual admin side of World Athletics.
Right.
Sorry, Tomas Stanek. Great throw, 2169. This throw is freaking awesome. 2120 from Chuk Enekwechi at U.S. Indoors, at American Track League. This is where I love that celebration. Taman sniped Eric on the last throw at this meet. Nice yell too, Chuck. Yeah,
that's
I
great.
love the point. I think I'm interested to see with Chuck, because he was from by all accounts a little banged up at the end of last year and didn't finish overly well at the Commonwealth Games, and I just feel like that might have lit a big time fire to come out and really get after this year and have, he's a Olympic finalist who I still feel like has a lot to prove. I think he himself is super driven motivationally internally, and I think that we're going to see some really big stuff from him this year.
Yeah.
Even his throws are pretty grounded. He comes up a little bit with the right foot, but not a ton.
Long grounded finish.
Yeah, he freaking
that's good.
Cranks that. Okay, so here we go. Janeah Stewart. And I also want to point out, she has I want to say a 1-year-old or a 2-year-old too. So she's an absolute animal. And what ends up happening, I think, so she ties the world record set by Gwen Berry, so 2560 in the weight throw. So she ties that, and the laser says it's a tie. John Smith measures with the steel tape, and it was unofficially broken by 5 centimeters. So I believe that's
with the steel tape.
With the steel tape,
and the official. I think John Smith got the officials to measure it with the steel tape. It wasn't like something done after the fact. Like, it was a legit measurement.
Right. So I think it's sort of, brings up, one, should you follow through with the steel tape? I don't know how world records in the weight throw are viewed under the umbrella of World Athletics. I don't know if that has any implications either. So I think that's like a whole nother discussion too. But nevertheless, this is an absolute bomb of a throw.
Yeah.
I just think it's absolutely crazy. It's like, to me, throwing 22 meters in the weight throw is a huge throw. Then you throw 23, and it's like, oh, man, that's huge. Then you throw 24. It's like, what? They threw 24? And then you throw 25, but you're not just throwing 25. You're throwing on the back end of 25. It's like, what the heck? So
that's crazy. 84 even.
And the other factor is, think about this, is what kind of shape is she going to be in outdoors now?
Yeah.
So now we're having even more people that you really, really have to factor into the hammer. So, okay, so Brooke Anderson opened up her indoor season at Penn State. I think Taman and that might have been maybe this was last weekend. And so she goes out 24-46, world champion in the hammer throw. That's a nice toss.
Yeah.
I also want to point out, I think throwing, I don't know what it is about throwing in that environment, but at Penn State, like, maybe it's because the stands are like right on top.
Right.
It's just like a super intense environment, and it gets so loud in there.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really, really cool place to throw. And you got like the guys up top sort of like hanging over, trolling you, yelling bad things about your life.
Is that from experience?
Yeah. So I was being yelled at, but I was also yelling at other people. But that's a nice, absolutely huge throw.
That's a bomb.
What do you think? What do you think is going to happen? Like, what do you think is a good translation to the actual hammer throw then? Because like Camryn Rogers, 23-74, to start off her last indoor weight season. So 23-74, what, she got second at Worlds. Brooke got first at Worlds. Kasnavoid got third at Worlds in the hammer throw. And they've all thrown 23 to 24-50. You throw in Janeah there, Stewart, and now it's like, is that transfer? It used to be like whatever you throw in feet, you can throw metric. But using that, then Stewart was going to throw 84 feet or 84 meters, and we know that Brooke is going to go 81 plus. Now, Brooke could go 80 to 81, which would be absolutely crazy. Right. I think she'd only be the second woman to throw 80 meters in the hammer, third. So do you think there's any transfer? Like, or what would be the specific transfer is mainly how I should.
I don't know. I mean, I think one of the biggest, because I mean, a lot of these, I don't actually know how many of these throwers are actually training with the weight. I think a lot of them just kind of pick it up and throw it. I would say it's probably more of an indication of your physical kind of preparedness, like physical, like training at this point in time than where your technique is. Like and probably if they're, picking it up, throwing it around in practice more often, like that's going to help them get a little further. But I would almost see it as like, hey, if you're hitting big numbers in the weight, prior to the hammer season, I feel like that's just a good indication of where you're at physically.
Yeah, that's fair. Especially relative to previous years. And if let's just using Camryn and Brooke as examples, we know they're really good hammer throwers.
Right.
So if they're throwing the weight further than they have in the past,
right,
we already know that
it's an indication that they can do the same thing.
Yeah, in the hammer, that they're probably going to throw the hammer further.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
All right, so that's going to take us to Auriol Dongmo, who sniped at this meet. I believe it was Sarah Mitton by a very, very close margin. I could be wrong, but I think when I was looking at the results, it was a pretty tight competition. And Dongmo's another one with that. Although she is gliding, relative to the spin that we were looking at with Geist, she's another one that has a great, long, grounded finish forward. You would think that if this was posted on the World Athletics YouTube channel, they could put the actual marks, and we could see that. That's a little YouTube tip.
Tell them how to get the retention graph.
Put retention for greater retention of this mark. First of all, make the video longer.
Well, they're getting at least
1890. I just saw it
getting
there.
at least like 300 or 400% view duration from us or watch time. Yeah.
I want to see here. I think it's 1890 is what pops up in that bottom left corner. I love her left leg out of the back too. She's got really, really good movement. 1890, yeah. Yep.
Okay.
So 1890. I think I want to say Sarah threw like 1830 or 1888. It was pretty close.
Yeah.
And Dongmo, another mother. So this is great. It's like, I think that's cool. You know, elite professional athletes having a family and finding the ability to balance to the best of their ability, really.
It's no joke.
Yeah, the professional life, Trevor knows this, a new father, balancing that professional life with having a family and then competing at that level. So I think that's...
Yeah, it's not only like it's twofold. It's the physical side for, you know, for mothers, especially like what they've gone through physically, but it's also just the time and the stress and the energy that's sapped, you know, from taking care of a child.
Yeah, and the emotional side too.
And the emotional, yeah. And you know, balancing that with the, you know, all the work you need to put in training and, you know, even, you know, some people, depending on what level you are, but if you're making a living, you know, other than competing as well, you know.
Yeah, so look at that. You know, Janeah Stewart's a indoor world record holder, and Dongmo's an indoor world champ. It's like, that's really, really, please apply for a job at Garage Strength, and I will look at that and be like, hired. You know how to balance your stress a lot better than I do. All right.
The mothers looking for jobs.
Any moms looking for jobs? Okay. So this is a throw that when I watched, I'm so glad this is in here. Watching Jordan's finish, Jordan Geist on that first throw. So the story behind this, I believe, because I follow Jorinde on Instagram, and she was saying that this came off her hand bad, and then her hand was all swollen afterwards. But she goes 18:55, new school record, NCAA lead. But even watching her finish with that right side, watch that left leg gets flat at the front, and then that right side rotating forward all the way into the finish. It reminds me, it's very, very similar to that first throw that we were talking about with Geist. So I think that's like something to really pay attention to. I also like what she does with her left arm in the middle there.
Yeah, nice wrap. This image here is saying currently there are 23 men over 19 meters in the NCAA shot put rankings.
Right.
And we're going to get to this guy.
I want to pitch my theory here, mainly because I'm arrogant and I want to feel like I'm smart and egotistical. This is my theory, is that, and I said this weekend at the Ohio State track conference. First of all, look at the chalk coming off the shot there. That's a really cool shot. Awesome. That's a great shot.
Caught in the light.
Yeah. That's a great shot. No pun intended. If you look at, so there's 23 men over 19 meters in the shot in the NCAA rankings. I guess there's really two things going on. One, there's more older throwers because of the COVID year. I do think that's fair. And maybe we should break this down and look at like how many are 6-year throwers out of that 23 men. So if someone's watching, by all means, we'd love it if you could do that work for us. But my second thing, and I said this to you earlier, was, I think I said it to you. I know I said it to Caitlin because I had this conversation with her like for 3 days in a row. Is that during COVID, it was this morning.
Yeah.
There was only so much that you could do that I think it really brought out, like, you had to train. Like, if you were, especially for the first 3 months, like, if you really wanted to be a good thrower, you had to just go out and throw, and you threw by yourself. There was no one around you. You went out to the park. Yes, this is 2020.
It's like everyone adopted the D3 mentality.
Yeah.
That year.
Everybody was forced into being having that D3 mentality. And I think this dude from Harvard, I'm pretty sure he's Australian, and they were on lockdown quite a bit longer than we were. So what my argument was is like, yes, everybody whines and complains about COVID, but look at the things that are coming out of it. And I think that this might be one of those, is that so many throwers really had to dig deep and figure out, do I really want to throw? And then they spark this work ethic and training that they're so internally motivated. And now we're seeing this result, 2-3 years later, outside of COVID. So I just wanted to, I thought that, I think that's something that we could take away from it as a substantial positive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so that takes us, I mean, let's watch the Nebraska comp here. Is this Otterdahl's brother?
Three guys over 20 meters.
Jeez. So it's him and Berger?
No. What's his name? Doc.
Oh, that's a nice throw. Jeez.
That's huge.
He is huge.
Wait a minute.
You should.
Are these back to back?
This is Otterdahl here, isn't it? Yeah. The other one was not Otterdahl.
Are these back to back throws over 20 meters?
Wait, is this both? Are they both Otterdahls? Jonah Wilson?
2042, Max Otterdahl.
Okay, so this is Max Otterdahl here. We got to practice our pictures. What?
This was the same meet, Jordan.
There's no cut in there. That was one throw right after the next.
A minute straight of just hammering it. Hammering bombs.
I mean, it's what you expect from like St. Clair now. Like,
Well, yeah. Yeah.
Geist went 21-27 at the same meet.
So Geist also went 21-27 at that comp. Don't you think that? I think that's like the crazy part about indoor shot is like, remember back the indoor comp when Pippery went like 2170 plus and Washington went like 2171. There's something about throwing indoors that sometimes I think because it's such a controlled environment, the temperature's nice and everybody jam-packed.
It's tight-knit and it's loud.
Yeah, it almost makes for a more intense response than you get outdoors sometimes. Like in a stadium, I think outdoor shot comps in a stadium or here at Garage Strength can be absolutely super, super intense. And I think that's one thing that our venue does offer.
Right.
But there's something to be said that indoor shot comps bring just crazy, crazy intensity.
Sound off the wall.
Yeah. Yeah. Everything echoing. Okay. So this is the one. This was the third one I wanted to connect everything with. Kolesnikoff. So what a last name. Alexander Kolesnikoff. He also looks like he's 9 feet tall, too. Okay, so this is also this is a different throw. I think he had another throw where he went 1960 the previous week. Mm-hmm. And there's a really good there's a really good.
That's why you keep recording.
Yes, that's absolutely
Everyone
accurate.
take note.
Yeah, great recording. So I think he went 1960 in his first meet. Anyway, I wanted to point out how long he stays grounded on the finish here. It's like he just sits through into that left, just like Jorinde, and just like Jordan Geist. And I think it's like growing from, if everybody can just look at that and understand it. And also, let's just talk about the fact that Harvard's had a 60-plus meter discus thrower. They have him throwing 1983. It's like, dude, those are really, really good marks for throwers,
right?
Especially out of the Ivy League. And this is a guy now, he's going to go to the NCAA, and if he competes well, he's going to be an All-American.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got to go against 23 other people throwing 19 meters.
Yeah.
So great count there. Jeez. Okay, so now we're getting into Do you remember? I'm pretty sure this is the New England dude.
Yeah.
Tarik. What did he throw in high school?
He threw like
73.
I think he only threw. He threw like 65 or 66 with the 12, and then like a month or two later threw like the same thing with the 6K
at the Pan Ams or Junior Worlds. I think it was Junior Worlds. Yeah. So is he a freshman now or a sophomore?
He's a freshman.
Okay.
True freshman. Yeah.
Wow, that's nice. That's really nice toss.
He's wired. Like he's not like the tallest guy, but he's really, really wired.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's big.
That's huge. It's like, how many of these guys are going to throw 20 at indoors? We have Max Herman, high school lead, 24.53. And the only reason I know how far 24.53 is because of how far Brooke Anderson and Janeah Stewart threw. So that's about 80 to 81 feet.
Yeah,
not even a yell. Not even a scream.
Just casually, dropping it off. 24 meters. All right.
I don't know where Max Herman is from, but I think the crazy part too is how many more states do have the weight and what that is leading. What I think as time passes here, we're going to see there's a lot more states adopting the weight throw indoors. So over time, I think it will contribute to better results in the hammer.
Yeah.
You know, and I think maybe that I'm not saying it's exactly what the reason is around our big dogs in the hammer now in the U.S., but I think it will contribute to that long term, that continued hammer dominance or growth. Oh, here we go. So there's, I like that IPR, the indoor PR there.
Oh yeah.
So Taman falling in off that late left to the front, but still slamming 2010. Hopefully he can clean that up a little bit. Looked pretty good outside today. Good position if he can continue to get over that left a little bit more out of the back and get that left grounded a little bit quicker. I think he could smack one.
That's big. Congrats, Taman.
Yeah.
Boom.
Yep. And then following that up, I want to say this is going to be Eric. Yeah, Eric flies over to Germany. Horrible jet lag. Can't sleep, 1992. So I think I just have this feeling like the next 2 to 3 weeks, Taman and Eric both are going to go like 20-50 plus.
Yeah.
Like, I think they're both capable of throwing 21 meters. I don't know if it's going to happen indoors, but they're both just really like knocking on the door of really, really maturing in the circle and maturing with their overall movement and approach to the sport. And it's really, really cool to see.
He looks pretty controlled there.
Yeah.
I feel like.
Still falling in off that right a little bit. That right hip falls in. Then he gets really tight at the front with that left foot.
Yeah.
I think he does it a little bit more in training than he does in comp, but.
Yeah, that's a big throw.
Yeah, 1992. And Taman sniped him on the last throw at the meet where Taman PR'd. All right, so Jackson Cantwell. I didn't even see this. How did I miss this?
Oh man!
Look at how tall he is.
Like he's
Dad's
even got a hot hat on, and he still is not as tall.
What is he? 6'8"? So he got his first offer from Texas A&M, and he's in. I want to say he's in 10th grade now. He's either 9th or 10th grade.
It's probably 9th grade, maybe 10th. Yeah.
And I think they said he threw when he was in 8th grade. He was throwing like 70 plus with the 4K. So I wonder if he's still gliding. What would you do? Would you have him spin or glide?
I mean, spin.
Yeah, I think especially with his dad. His dad can help him smash those bombs.
How many pounds of muscle is he going to put on in the next 3 years?
Well, the other crazy part, I've seen a video of him hitting like 315 for a set of 5 on bench. It's like everybody will always say like, oh, when you're. Also, by the way, look at Christian's arms. He still looks huge.
Yeah.
Like is he still benching? Like what? Oh my gosh! Like
what's the half-life of a 700-pound bench?
He could probably get on and rep out 315 for 10, no matter what. You know, I think his 315 would be like it's like you with 225. Like you could always rep out 225. I guarantee he's always repping out 315.
Yeah.
Like once or twice a year, he just gets on and hits it. But I know with his son, like a lot of people will say, well, it's harder when you're taller to bench. And yeah, yes, it is. But you're still able to do, you know, to hit some big time lifts on the bench, even with that. So, man, this is going to be interesting to see what happens over the next. I mean, it's always interesting to see what happens, but just looking at the genetics, you know, his mom was a U.S. champ. I want to say I'm pretty sure she is an Olympian as well. I know she's been on world teams and obviously Christian's Olympic medalist, world champion. So it's like, man, and he's got a work ethic already. You know, he's throwing, he's lifting. You have to work to be that tall. How many kids do they have? That's what I want to know. How many kids do they have?
Yeah, right.
I've got to try and plan how Lincoln's going to pick these kids off.
And my question is he playing football, and how do they prevent him from playing football?
Yeah. That's so accurate. It's like, okay, so we don't want you to be like Joe Thomas. Well, we do. Joe Thomas made a lot of money. But
it's hard. It's a hard decision.
Comment down below. Is he playing football? Let us know. All right, so another great week of throwing. Until next time, guys, if you need help with your training so that you guys can drop some bombs, head over to throwsuniversity.com. Peace.